All right. Good evening to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to our weekly podcast known as This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on in the world of pop culture, whether we're talking about local news, film and TV, sports, tech, and pretty much everything above the line when it comes to popular culture. We try to bring you up to speed of what happened in the past week, so that way you are not left in the wind. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, and of course, I'm never alone in talking about the said topics in this past week when we're talking pop culture. So, without further ado, I want to welcome my co-host, my partner in crime, Mr. Spielman Trueheart, aka Spills. What's going on, sir? You're muted. Go ahead.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You know what time of year it is. It's the time of year where the Warriors go home and they
Oh
don't
wow,
play no
wow. But
playoff
but
basketball
but
games
hey
no more.
hey, what can I say? What can I say? We lasted around longer, so
Yeah, for
we
sure,
didn't
for
get
sure.
bounced in the first round. I
Yeah,
could at
yeah.
least say that. So, Spillman, we did have some revelations, as people can see in our title and what we have in the background of some upcoming shows that are coming on in the near future on some streamers. But before we get into that, before we dive into some of the details of what has been revealed about those said projects, just as you just mentioned, we're going to be talking a little sports, but we're also going to be talking about some trailers as well that dropped this past week. So without further ado, shall we dive in?
Let's get it.
All right, excellent. So um, as I said, we want to start first this week's show and talking in our segment known as Sports Cooler Talk. So let me bring that up now. And we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs because we did have some finalizations of the matchups that we're going to have in the conference finals. We do have one semifinals matchup that's still ongoing. We have a battle that's going on there to keep going back and forth and keep evening out the series. So let me put that up now. I'll start by putting up our bracket for us. So and talking about where things stand. As I said, we do have some advancers that have punched their respective tickets. The Pacers closed out their gentleman's sweep of the Cavs on Tuesday. The T Wolves closed out their gentleman's sweep of my Warriors on Wednesday. And last but not least, we had the Knicks who closed out the defending champion Celtics yesterday with a 4-2 series lead in their Game 6 win. As I said, it happened just yesterday. So Spillman. And before I get into that, as I said, we still have one semifinal matchup that's still ongoing between the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are now both in a winner-take-all Game 7 that's happening tomorrow afternoon. Now, Spillman, thoughts on the semifinals matchups that have wrapped up, and which team do you have punching their ticket in the remaining semifinal series?
Um, so I guess let's start off
Oh,
with
you're gonna
the
enjoy this? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
no,
Where we gonna
we're
start
gonna
off
work
at?
our way around. We're gonna start our way off,
Okay.
least interesting to most interesting. I think um very interesting series. No one, look if you look back to just this week, this time last week or 2 weeks ago, Brandon and I were saying, "Oh, we're going to go chalk both of these high seeds, the Celtics and the Cavaliers, going to quickly do away with the Pacers and the Knicks," and both of them handled their business. They handled their business and made sure that that they won. Obviously the Celtics had that terrible injury to Jason Tatum, but I don't see where Jason Tatum was going to help them that much because he wasn't helping them keep a 20-point leads and stuff. So to me, I think it was very interesting. It seemed like the Knicks were a team that wanted it more. A lot of those guys on the Celtics are older guys. I feel like they were still in the league to still get that ring or get that second ring. And now that they got it, they're like, oh, I'm going to the hall now. These games don't matter as much anymore. But all the Knicks fans, all the Knicks players, and also the Knicks playing together.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you've been keeping trouble. First, I want to give a shout out to one of our viewers. Shout out to Space Force, Space Force Girl Force, JJ West fans. He's asking about Alien Earth. We need Alien 5. I agree with you, sir. But as I said, we are going to dive into that because there are definitely some things that I want to talk about when we get to that story. So make sure you stick around. But getting back to the basketball of it all, right, is
Yeah. Uh-oh, there you
here we
go. You
go.
still with
Sorry.
us? Okay, yeah.
But yeah, if we're getting back to the basketball of it all, I'm not gonna lie. I did not have the Cavs losing that series. I did not have the Celtics losing. I thought that as I mentioned before, when we're talking about the Knicks, that the manner in which they are coached, and it's not to say that that they're a badly coached team. They are, but I'm just saying in terms of the style that Thibodeau is known for, of really being hard nosed with a very finite amount of his lineup, that I thought that was going to come back and bite them. So it doesn't look like it happened in this series, but I still feel like when it's all said and done, it will catch up to them. I don't. Apparently, it didn't catch up to them in this series, but I feel like it still will catch up to them. Now, speaking of the Indiana Pacers, kudos to them because I don't think anyone even had them getting past the first round, to be honest. But here we are, where we're talking about them being, at the among the remaining four teams in the conference finals. So uh, who knows? Maybe it'll be a situation that we've had in prior years where we just have that Cinderella team that somehow finds a way to get to the championship, but when it's all said and done, they still won't have a adequate shot of being able to win it all. So kind of like what we had with the Miami Heat, in prior years, where they've had some Cinderella years where everything just came together at the right time. Sometimes that's all it takes. When you just have everything, momentum, everything working, in your favor, and you're playing great at the right time. Sometimes things like this happen where a team is just on a roll regardless of what talent they have on paper, because when you're matching it up with some other teams that are on in this conference, you would think that they wouldn't have made it this far, but hey, here we are.
I feel like we've been underestimating those Indiana Pacers. Tyrese
No doubt.
Halliburton.
No doubt.
Tyrese Halliburton said, "I was on
No
the
doubt.
Olympic team for a reason, you fools.
No
I was
doubt.
supposed to be there. Don't even look at me like that. I'm one of them ones. Don't even sweat
No
it. I'm
doubt.
one of them ones. I'm gonna get him up out of here." And definitely, he showed how much of a player he is, how unstoppable he is. And I wonder for this next round, since we're on the East here, I
Mhm.
wonder how much of a problem he will be for Jalen Brunson, because I feel like that's the marquee matchup in this.
I do too. I do too. And I don't know. I feel
This is
like
like
it's
one of
going.
those fights make styles.
I don't know. I feel like this might go the other way. I don't know if he has if he can handle Brunson, because
I don't know,
Brunson
man.
has demonstrated time and time again that he just has that. I don't know how you can explain it. That toughness about him. That it's not to say that Halliburton doesn't, but I feel like he plays. Brunson plays with more of a chip on his shoulder, and I would say
For
that just
sure.
in general about the team itself, they play with more of a chip on their shoulder than any other team that I've seen thus far. So I would still give them the edge, and I don't really think that they really have a answer for Cat in terms of that matchup. That's going to be another key matchup too.
They still got bodies for Cat. They got Miles Turner, who we all know collects Legos, so we don't know how tough he actually is. But he might could do some things for them. So I think Miles Turner, and then also you forget Pascal Siakam's on that team,
Yeah, true,
and
true,
he's got
true.
real playoff experience. But I
He
think that
does.
the Nova Core, I feel like the shout
No,
outs
I
to,
like
to
that. I like
shout
that.
outs shout outs to Marvel, the MCU, but the Nova Core. I think the Nova Core's got this because they've been playing together so long. They got together. They doing Nike ads and stuff together. They really like spending time together. I think that the Knicks will prevail here. But this is like good old '90s basketball. Knicks and Pacers. Spike Lee's still there. It was beautiful last night seeing all those stars in Madison Square Garden.
for sure,
Um,
for sure.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been interesting seeing uh, uh, seeing what the excitement in the fans, because let's be honest, like their fans have been very, very dedicated regardless of what's happened, with that team in the past. And that's one
Hmm.
thing that I can give them credit for, is that do or die, Knicks fans are about their team.
Oh
So it was
yeah.
great. It was great to see how like crazy it got in terms of the celebration afterwards. They were showing like some of the celebrations that were happening like out in the streets. It was pretty wild. So
I saw
um
them harassing a Pacers fan, though. I did see them. They were peppering a Pacers fan on the way out. I think that the Knicks are a rabid group, and I feel like they're so hungry to be back in this. But the Pacers haven't been to the finals in 25 years, so both teams are well due. It's been 25 years for both to be in the finals, so hope one of them will bring back some good news.
and we have some commenters about your Legos here. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. That is hilarious.
It's just
So
you don't want your center to be collecting Legos. You want your center to be collecting souls, collecting basketballs on the backboard. That's what you want to hear about. You want to hear him, being a mean person. You want to hear him like throwing people through fake glass windows and stuff. You want to see him
I
be a
hear you.
menace.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So going into, let's see, going into this. Well, no. Let's get into the Western
The
Conference Finals. Let's get into the
Ladies and
Western
gentlemen,
Conference
did
Finals.
you see how Brandon tried to do a swim move? He thought he
Oh
was
no
Reggie
no no
White,
no
ladies and
no. Let's
gentlemen. He
dive
was he was
in.
going to swim
I'm not.
move.
Yeah.
He was going to get to the quarterback. That's what he was going to do. He was going to swim move, get right to the quarterback, and we're out of here. We're out of this series. But no, us talk about the series that's wrapped up.
Yep.
Timberwolves and
Hey,
Warriors.
gentlemen, sweet. Gentlemen, sweet.
Clearly, this is like in the Dream Team documentary, and it was like, it's his league now. It's clearly Anthony Edwards' league right now. We're just watching it. If he could bring a championship to Minnesota of all places after losing Cat, is crazy. Obviously, you guys made a big move with getting Jimmy Butler, and he helped y'all get to the second round, but
That window, I don't know. That window is small. Like,
it was a small window. I mean, it was a window. It was a Steph window. Because really, in 2 years, is Steph going to be good enough? Still, is Draymond going to be good enough? Still, no, they're
yeah,
not going to be. So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
try. They tried to make them happy.
It's too bad that we couldn't have gotten Jimmy sooner. We may be having a different conversation, but I will also say we will never know. And I don't want to put out excuses out there, but we will never know because your boy was injured. Like it's kind of like the situation when you're talking about with Dragon Ball Z, right? Where gosh, can't believe we jumping into all of these comparisons, but in talking about like Dragon Ball Z and talking about giving an example character Goku, and there've been so many examples where
Now, Steph Curry's Goku, ladies and gentlemen.
oh, I'm not saying this. I'm just bringing this as an example. I'm
Okay,
not
cool.
making him Goku.
Okay.
I'm saying more so that when he is playing, fighting another opponent, he's such a competitor that he wants to be able to say that he beat you at your best and that there
Hmm.
wasn't any type of handicap that was going on. Like, one thing that comes to mind immediately is when he had Gohan fight Cell, and you had
Uh
that
huh.
that moment where he gave him the sensu beans, and people were like, "What are you doing? Why are you giving the villain sensu beans?" And he's like, I don't want there to be any excuse. I want to make sure that he was beaten and knows that he was beaten at his best. There's always going to be that asterisk of could he have gotten past the Warriors without with Steph Curry playing. That's all I'm gonna say. Because Steph Curry, well, let's be honest, Steph Curry was
Steph
having a
Curry
year.
played some of the games. They didn't win all the games Steph Curry played.
I'm talking about this series. I'm not talking about the regulars.
Did he play all? He played more than one game in the series, right?
Mm-mm.
He didn't play any
Mm-mm.
of the games in the
He
series.
played one game, if
I
memory
thought he
serves.
played 2 games. I thought he hurt his ankle in game 2.
Let's see. Let me
I
let me
think,
let me
ladies and gentlemen, he hurt his
let
ankle in
me
game 2
let me
because I think
backtrack
that
that.
y'all lost
Let me
game
see.
1.
Let me see. I could
Yeah,
have sworn it was game
I
that
thought
it
it was
that
game
it was
2. You
after
see that,
game
ladies and
one that he
gentlemen?
got the injury.
No, no, ladies and gentlemen.
But still, the point still stands
Okay,
that
yeah,
he didn't
okay, okay.
play the
I'll
entire
let you.
series.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now know that Goku and Steph Curry, same person, same person.
No,
Super
how is he
Saiyan.
the same person if we're
He's the same
saying
guy.
that
That's
no?
that means that Riley that
He's the villain. He's the villain in this scenario when I'm making this comparison because you're saying that you want to fight your opponent at their best.
no, you don't. You want to win. I disagree with that sentiment. We're
Mm.
not living in an anime world, ladies and gentlemen. We want to win the games. We'll go get Kevin Durant if we need to win the games. Because we could be down 3-1 and lose, so that we got to go cheat and not give a sensu bean. We're gonna step on their neck, sweep the leg, Johnny, sweep the leg. But I do think that's very interesting. For Game 7, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse with the Warriors because that series been over for like a week. But for
See
the
what he did, y'all? See what he's doing, y'all? It
for
wasn't
the
even that
Thunder
long. It was
and the
a couple of days
Nuggets,
ago. A couple of days ago. It wasn't a week ago, but it's okay.
it was
It's
over a
okay.
week ago. It was over a week ago.
He's just bitter because that his team got bounced a whole series ago. But
We
it's all
did, but
good.
that's okay. That's okay. But so who do you have in Game 7? Do you think that Jokic is going to come through? I feel like whoever
I don't
wins
know.
Game
It's a
7 is
toss
going
up,
to be
man.
the
I
MVP
don't
of the
know.
league.
Like it's a toss up because in this entire series, there it honestly has been evenly matched. Like a lot of times, what'll happen is like you'll see some momentum between one team. Like one team will take game one, they'll may take game two, and then the next team may take game one, and then they'll get in a couple additional games. I don't feel like there really is any momentum going in either team's favor. I feel like both teams are fully capable of beating the other. But I will say, whoever wins this series, I feel will win the title. I will make
Really?
I will make that prediction.
I don't know about that one.
I will make that prediction
I don't think that they
because
could.
I can see the Nuggets in the rematch against the T Wolves be able to take to
The
give
Nuggets still,
a
but the
serious
Nuggets still
defeat.
don't have nobody that can guard Anthony Edwards. The Lakers don't have
Who do
nobody
they
that
have
could
for
guard him.
Joker though?
Who do they have for Joker? They
Yeah,
have that what's his name? I think COVID Rudy. They got COVID Rudy. COVID Rudy is
and
going
you
to
have
take
all
care
of
of them.
those wings. You have all of those wings,
They not worried about those wings. They got all them no name guys that's real good. That you supposed to know
and they
who they
got your
are.
boy. They got your boy, walking triple double. They got him too.
But they got somebody to stop him. They got bodies for him, and like even with the Thunder, I think that the Thunder match up better with the Timberwolves. So I think the Timberwolves are hoping for the Nuggets because they know they could beat the Nuggets. Um,
But again, all the more reason why I say I feel like this series is key in determining who our champion's going to be this year.
I don't think that the Thunder or the Nuggets can beat the Timberwolves, and I
Oh
don't think that they
wow,
could beat either of those Eastern Conference
wow,
teams either. Because
wow.
I do like obviously the Timberwolves are well. I mean the Thunder are the number one. They have the number one record in the league this, or they have the best record left. But they're not, that they're not as seasoned as usual number one seeds are. And to me, they should have put the Nuggets away already. They hadn't put them away, and that shows a sign of weakness. And it's only going to get harder because, again, Anthony Edwards is a different level of beast. Um, and we're not even talking about Julius Randle. They don't want to see those guys. So to me, I think it's going to be the Thunder. I think the Thunder are going to get it done. Um, unless, Joker decides he's not going to be the sixth best center of all time. If he wants to be the fifth or the fourth, he's got to win a championship this year. I feel like if he wants to let people say that he's better than Shaq, he's got to win this year. Because, if he was Shaq, Shaq would win against the Thunder. Like, as good as they are.
All I will
It
say is this. As I said, whoever gets out of this series, because it's a test for both teams. This is the only real
for
test
sure.
that either team has had in this
Hmm.
series for is each other. And once whoever is able to get out of this series, I feel like they are going to be the ones to advance. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a sweep of the Timberwolves. I do believe that the Timberwolves will make it an interesting series, but I still feel like they need another piece there in order to go all the way to the finals.
They got him. His name is Julius Randle. He's a
No,
problem
Julius,
for
I'll give you
everybody.
credit. Julius Randle has been playing out of his
I
mind.
want to see Knicks Timberwolves. That's the one I want to see. Knicks Timberwolves. I want to see. Oh, we traded players last year, and somehow both of our teams won those trades, and we in the
That
finals.
would
I
be an
want to see
interesting
that. I would
storyline.
love to
That
see
would
that
be. I will
because
give you
like
that.
they thought you. It felt like they was getting rid of each other's garbage. They was like, oh, okay, we're just gonna do the old wife swap. Let's do the wife swap. And now we're dealing with, I didn't like how she was cooking, but I didn't like how she was dressing. So it's like we swapped the wives, and now we're perfectly happy. We're perfectly happy. I think that that's just a excellent, excellent finals. I hope that that's the finals we get.
Well, I was going to say one thing that I will say before we wrap it up and head over to Trailer Alley is if memory serves, if we're rewinding the clock back to the Olympics and what went down during the Olympics, despite the fact that we won the gold, but like intrinsically within the team, what was going on? Do you feel like Kerr was correct in his decision with Tatum now, after what transpired with the Celtics
I don't know
and
how
Brown?
much of that. I don't know how much of that. Really goes. I feel like, obviously Tatum got hurt. Um,
Yeah,
but before he got hurt, they lost those two games up 20. But, also that's a stylistic thing. I don't
yeah,
feel
because they shoot
like
so many threes, they live
they
and
shoot
die by
so
that
many
three. When it's not
threes.
falling, yeah,
Like I feel like that's the thing that like, people always complain about the 02 Lakers King series.
yeah.
But, you go back to the years before, they were just throwing Vlade back on Shaq's back. And you can only do that so many times before you foul out a game. And once you foul out a game strategically, you don't have as many options to do those crazy threes and stuff. Like, sure, you can jack up a three, but we're going to get 2 points on the other end. And if you miss, it just compounds. So I feel like because we've gotten so far away, like, everybody screams free throw merchant and stuff. That's why I'm really not thinking that the Nuggets can win because sure Joker's amazing. He dribbles the ball up the court and everything, but he don't just dunk on people when he needs to. I don't feel like he exerts his strength, and I feel like
Ooh, I
you know
disagree on that one. I don't know
I,
about
I
that one.
he's done it only
I
once. He's
understand what you're
only done it
saying.
once.
I understand what you're saying is that he's not that type of player that's going to like bang on you. But when we're just talking about all the intangibles of what he's able to bring as a scorer, what he's able to bring as a passer, as a rebounder, the- I mean, there's so much that goes through him in the same way that we're thinking of, perhaps with like Tim Duncan. There's so much that goes through him that makes that team go. And he has been playing. He's been another player that's been playing out of his mind. And under any other circumstance, it would have easily been an MVP year. But we've had some other players that have also had great years too. But if you match his numbers up to anyone else's, you could arguably say he should have earned the MVP again this year with some of the crazy numbers that he's
The
posted throughout the
numbers were
regular
crazy for
season
sure,
and the postseason.
but I feel like last year Shea's numbers were crazy, but they gave it to Jokic because he had a
Yeah,
better team
undoubt,
season. And I
undoubtedly.
feel like, numbers are great, but if I feel like if he wins in the second round, he'll probably be the MVP. But I don't think that if he beats the Thunder, for sure he'll be the MVP. But, I don't see how you can have him be the MVP if he doesn't win. And, back to the question about Kerr and Tatum, I just don't feel like I think it's a style thing with those guys. They've gone all in on analytics, and you can only analytics so long. Like there's are times where you know where you say, well, this is what my flow chart said to do, even though I knew I probably should have did the other thing. And I feel like flow charts are great, but you can't live your life by flow charts. Sometimes you gotta go with your gut and just go with what you know, because that's just what you gotta do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So that is going to wrap it up for what we had with our sports cooler talk. We're going to head over now to Trailer Alley, as we did have a couple of projects that dropped trailers this week. As luck would have it, both of them dropped this past Wednesday. As Disney Plus dropped the trailer for its Wakanda Forever spinoff series, Ironheart, and Warner Brothers dropped its second trailer to its hotly anticipated Superman. Um, just to give some synopsis here of the two projects. For Ironheart, it is set to drop with a 3-episode premiere on June 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It follows Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne, a young genius inventor determined to make her mark on the world, as she returns to her hometown of Chicago following the events of Wakanda Forever. Her unique take on building iron suits is brilliant, but in pursuit of her ambition, she finds herself wrapped up with the mysterious yet charming Parker Robbins, aka the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos. Now, in the other corner, we have Warner Brothers' Superman set to fly into theaters on July 11th. It sees filmmaker James Gunn take on the original superhero in his newly imagined DC universe with a singular blend of epic action, humor, and heart, delivering a Superman who is driven by compassion and an inherent belief in the goodness of humankind. Spills, you can go in either order, but what are your thoughts on either upcoming project, whether it's from MCU or from the DC Studios? Oh, you're muted, man. Hold on.
Sorry about that.
Go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. We can start with the MCU because it's obviously a TV show, and we'll be able to get to that a little bit quicker and easier
Sure, go ahead.
than the big budget. To me, I feel like I like the Ironheart stuff. I don't understand why the internet hates it so much. I feel like, you guys, it's just more comic book stuff. Why can't we just have more comic book stuff? Um, I feel like they've done literally every other possible character. I can't think of any character that they haven't done. They've done the Heroes for Hire, the Defenders, they've done uh Avengers, and like some of the West Coast Avengers even. Like, come on guys, like, let the little girl have her little rocket suit. Why y'all gotta like hog everything? Why can't she have a rocket suit? It looks cool. Like, this costume looks cool. And then this Prowler, you said that was a Prowler, right? Are you muted? I think Brandon's gone. But anyway, I think it's a really cool show. The CGI looks cool. Oh, Brandon, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, that's the Prowler right next to you, right? That's the Prowler.
No, no, that's still Riri with her
That's
suit.
Riri in the
Yep,
that's her suit, the black and red suit.
yep. Let me hold on. Let me pull this up
Because
so
you
that way
said
you're
the,
able
the
to
the
see
other
it.
person was played as someone else.
So no, 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 no. That's still her suit.
Okay, so she's got two suits. Oh
Yes.
yeah, the hood. Okay, this mysterious and charming Parker, aka the hood.
Yep.
But the hood is not an armored superhero. Um,
No, 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 no.
yeah, no,
So
no, no, that's a different character. But
yeah.
still, and also, come on, guys, why can't the girls get in the rope in the superhero suits? Why does it always have to be like a situation where it's like Mary Jane got the superhero suit? Why can't we just have ladies that are superheroes, gentlemen? Like, what's wrong with you, internet people? What is wrong with y'all? I just cannot believe this. She looks cool. She's got cool technology. She's gonna, they're gonna take it into the next realm where it looks more, Web 3.0 instead of the Web 2.0 of the Iron Man suits. Because Iron Man is really something from the 60s. Like, this is a cool, like, up to date kind of superhero outfit. So I just, I'm interested to see what the Ironheart will do. Are you going to stream it?
I mean, I do have every intention of being able to.
Uh-oh. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So
No, I'm
he's
still
no,
here.
there he goes. Okay,
I'm
cool.
still here. No, I do have every intention of being able to, check out this show. Um, I am curious because for it's actually been sitting, if memory serves, been sitting on the shelves for a little bit. They've actually been done with this show. So
Hmm.
I don't know how they're going to try to have it fit within the current MCU as it stands now. But now that we're starting to head into, Doomsday, I know that as I mentioned in the premise that, or staying in the synopsis, that right now it's supposed to, obviously follow the events of Wakanda Forever. But Wakanda Forever was a couple of years ago at this point.
Hmm.
So are they going to try to say that this is happening in the past and that this is literally happening moments or months after Wakanda Forever, or will they somehow try to retcon a bit of the story so it can fit further into into the current state of the MCU? So I guess only time will tell on that. But outside of that, I did enjoy the character for what the character was able to do in Wakanda Forever. Um, I am interested in seeing what's going to happen with the Hood, because from what I understand, the Hood does have some ties to a certain MCU villain that ever since we even had any of the what is it, the Disney Plus Marvel shows, people have been hoping that this character would pop up in the MCU, and it starts with the M, little devilish character that starts with the M that I understand that the Hood likely has ties to. So does that mean that we'll see that character finally pop up instead of the internet getting getting trolled, or fans being trolled throughout a lot of the shows as to whether he exists in the MCU? We will see.
I
um
thought he was in the Strange movie. He wasn't in the Strange movie?
no, that was door
No, that was Dormammu. That
that was
wasn't
Dormammu. Yeah, that
Mr.
was not, that wasn't
Mephisto. It wasn't
Mephisto.
Mephisto. Okay,
No,
yeah.
it wasn't.
Okay,
But I
okay,
know
yeah.
for a long time they were trying to troll people in the what is it, in the Wanda Vision series, that was who was going to be behind everything, and as we all know, it went a different direction. So now that we have another character that kind of works within that realm of magic, because a lot of the show is going to be dealing with that contrast between tech and magic, it will be interesting to see if this character indeed pops up in this show. And if he does, where does that take us in the overall MCU? Because there's so many other things that they have to kind of wrap up, that by adding the whole element of Mephisto, it it, it provides an interesting wrinkle, because prior to doing, or say back when this show was actually supposed to come out, originally supposed to come out, we were in an era where we thought we want to be getting a Blade movie. We thought that we were going to be getting all of these, supernatural characters, and having it, eventually develop into the Midnight Suns, which at this point is still, who knows where, if we'll get there, and if we do, it's not going to be until after the wrap up of the multiverse saga. So we'll see for sure.
We will see. We will see.
But
But again, we'll see. I think that's very cool. So we'll see.
yeah, yeah. So switching gears over to Superman, there were a couple of things that are interesting about this trailer. While I pull it up, just what are your initial impressions, Spills?
I feel like the guest stars were definitely prominently featured in this one, so we got a
For
lot
sure.
of more look at like Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific, which was very cool. Obviously, we got a little clip of Hawk Girl. Um, But I think that this movie's got a lot of heart, and this is the kind of stuff that DC has needed to do. They really got Nolan for the last reboot of their movies, and I feel like they did too much Nolan. And you can only do so much Batman with other people. Like, people are not Batman. So
Yeah.
um
I mean, there are a couple of things. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull it up. There was, for anyone who has been taking a look at the what is it, um, at the not at the MCU, but as the DC universe and the newly christened DC universe. There has there was a cameo from a character who has been featured already in an animated version, who is now featured in a live action version. So let me see if I can show you what I mean, where we
Superman.
have a character who from what is it, the Creature Commandos. I'm gonna see if I can, here we go. Okay, see if we can get it right there. So here we have Flag Senior. Um, as I mentioned in the Creature Commandos, from those that are not aware, those who are voicing the actors in that said series actually will also be responsible for playing the live action versions if they ever pop up in a series or movie. So of course, we have Frank Grillo here, who is playing the senior Flag. But we did have, as you said, Spillman, some other cameos as well, whether we're talking about Mr. Terrific or Guy Gardner. And we also have, who actually, when it comes to the DC universe, um didn't, in remembering some of the cartoons that I had watched as a kid, and even some of the books, is that I wasn't well versed when it came to the character of Engineer. Like, it wasn't if memory serves, it wasn't a character that had been used a lot in a lot of forms of media when we're talking about the DC universe. So I will be curious to see what happens with her. Let me see if I can pull her up, because they show her in the Fortress of Solitude, and she is the character that we see that seems to be working in tandem with Lex Luthor. So let me see if I can fast forward here. Um, See if we got it here. Here we go. So when we show the Fortress of Solitude, we have this character that can manipulate parts of her body and turn it into, parts of turn it into metal, like solid objects, with what she can do. So this is the character, the Engineer, which, interestingly enough, is apparently a member of the Authority, which was actually going to be a project that James Gunn was going to do, but based on being able to, I guess, to kind of control the amount of content that the DC, DC Studios was creating or putting on. He decided to not do it. So I guess she's going to be able to pop up in here versus being able to appear in a separate project. So, but Spills, overall excited about this new, or should say, this first official DC Studios film.
yes, I am pretty excited about this. I've said it. It's unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking about Superman now for 10 minutes, and we didn't talk about how sad those Jason Tatum commercials look in hindsight now. Oh my gosh. They were saying that boy was Superman and his body fell apart. That's why you don't tempt face. She
Yes, and
controls the
thank you,
nanotech.
sir. Yes, she controls nanotech. If memory serves, if I she actually has nanotech in her, if memory serves, in her bloodstream, so that's why she's able to kind of manipulate her body in that fashion and in that way. But as I said, excited to be able to check out the film. Excited to be able to see, what James Gunn is able to do with that character. Um, I'll also say this is something that I did hear. There have been sources that have been saying that the dog that is featured in this film, Crypto, actually may not be owned by Superman, but may be owned by another relative. And he may, in fact, just be dog sitting, which may connect the dots of another certain relative, Kryptonian relative of his, making an appearance, perhaps towards the end of the film. So that will be interesting because if anyone is not aware out there, they are in fact making a separate movie for that said relative. So we'll see. We'll see if it ends up being true, but that would be cool to be able to kind of connect the dots instead of trying to force, saying that uh, um, that she hasn't arrived yet. Sometimes I feel like the smarter option is to already say that these characters have interacted and already know each other, and that we as the audience are just catching up to what already exists in the world that we're being shown, which seems to be kind of the case for the most part with a lot of the characters, where we're not going to have to go through the whole story arc of Lane, not knowing that Clark is Superman. At this point, they're already going to be, in a relationship. Um, you're not going to have, the issue with some of the other characters not really having an idea of who's Superman is. Like there is going to be some interaction there and some knowledge there of, from what I understand, of their existence within this universe. So but that is going to wrap it up for yes, yes, yes. But that is going to wrap it up for what we have for Trailer Alley. I know Space Force is looking forward to us diving into what we're going to be talking about now, which of course is talking about some aliens and talking about some Buffy. So without further ado, let's do that now. Let
Let's
me
get it.
Let's get into our main topic today. So let me pull that up and take down our notes. So as you saw in our background, the main topic that we're going to be talking about today are some of the things that have been revealed thus far about Alien Earth and the Buffy reboot. And first, I'm going to dive into, briefly into the synopsis for either a project. Um, on Tuesday, it was revealed that by FX that Alien Earth would crash land on August 12th at 8 p.m. on FX and Hulu in the U.S. and on Disney Plus internationally, with new episodes following weekly on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. up through September 23rd. A couple of days after that, in an exclusive from Deadline, it was revealed this past Thursday that Ryan Kiera Armstrong would be teaming up with Sarah Michelle Gellar for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot. Getting into the synopsis for Alien Earth, the synopsis for that series reads as follows. In the year 2021-20, 2 years prior to the events of Alien and 16 years after Alien Covenant, the Earth is governed by five corporations: Prodigy, Whaling Yutani, Lynch, Dynamic, and Threshold. In this corporate era, cyborgs, humans with both biological and artificial parts, and synthetics, humanoid robots with artificial intelligence, exists alongside humans. But the game has changed when the founder and CEO of Prodigy Corporation unlocks a new technological advancement: hybrids, humanoid robots infused with human consciousness. The first hybrid prototype, named Wendy, marks a new dawn in the face for immortality. After Wayland Yutani's spaceship collides with Prodigy City, Wendy and the other hybrids encounter mysterious life forms more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. Now, likewise, in talking about, or similarly in talking on the other side about the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot, um, Ryan Kiera Armstrong, who I just mentioned, will be uh, taking on the role as the new Slayer. Will be joining Sarah Michelle Gellar, who will be executive producing the new series. as she also reprises her role as Buffy Summers. Right now, the details about that series is currently, you know, under wraps as to what's going on. But Spillman, we could dive into either Alien Earth first or the Buffy reboot. What are your thoughts on the revelation, not just with the synopsis with Alien Earth, but its release date and the new edition that we have in the universe of Buffy?
I think we can start with Buffy because we're gonna make Space Force wait just a little bit longer. We're gonna make you wait just a little bit longer. You came,
All
you're
right,
gonna
man.
wait
Go
some
ahead.
more.
Dive in.
So,
Go
um,
for it.
so for the Buffy, I'm very interested in it. It's interesting because Sarah Michelle Gellar isn't the original Buffy, but she is the original Buffy to me. Like, it's kind of like
Yeah, if you're being
when
technical, she's not the original Buffy, but
she's not, but she's the one that
she's the
made the
definitive Buffy.
character.
Let's say that
Yeah.
she's a definitive Buffy.
Yes, for sure. So it's good to see that they are including her in this because obviously we would all feel that Buffy is Buffy, like Sarah Michelle Gellar. So to have this new cast member is great. It's good to see that it's interesting because she's not exactly the bleach blonde that we're used to in the role, so that's a little bit interesting. But I'm interested to see what they do with it um for her to be Buffy. There's huge shoes to fill. Yes, SMG is Buffy. She is. She just is. Like, I used to mess with my sister about watching the show, but the show is good. Like, I can't hate on it. Like, I was trying to hate on it because I was like, "Oh, it's for girls," but no, 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 no. And they got Angel in there. Like, no, it's a great show. Like, you can't go wrong with Buffy. So to me, I like what they're doing with it. How do you feel about the casting?
um, well, I mean, they did. For anyone who is not aware, and you guys can check it out online, there was a video that Sarah Michelle Gellar released, in which she notified Ryan that she had indeed gotten the part. And one of the things that she had talked about is her acting chops. So if Sarah Michelle Gellar, as talented as she is as an actress, believes in the acting chops of this, of Ryan, then I'll be very curious to be able to see. I have faith in and you know in her assessment, especially if she is the executive producer of the show. Um, I will be interested to see how they approach what has happened thus far in the world of Buffy, because if anyone remembers how the show closed out, Sunnydale got, and I don't know if you remember the spills, but like Sunnydale completely got dismantled and destroyed after they fought those like uber vampires in the actual hellmouth underneath Sunnydale High. And when it was all said and done, they basically destroyed all of Sunnydale. Um, they did have a comic series that kind of continued, if memory serves, continued that storyline of what happened after. But I don't know if they're going to utilize what has been done in that medium as a platform to be able to do this series, or if they are going to actually push it further into the future as to what's going on. And then the other bummer about this, which I don't know if folks are going to be ready for, but it is a natural, what is it? It is a natural narrative beat that I feel like they're probably going to have to do. If she's quote unquote passing the torch to this new Slayer, you know what that means, right? What eventually has to happen. Uh, yeah, you're muted. Sorry, go
She
ahead.
got to die, right? She
She
got to
gotta die.
die. She
She
got to
gotta die.
die. There's only
Especially,
one
especially
Slayer.
if she, especially if she's a mentor. That's just how it normally goes. For
That's how
those
it
that are
goes.
not familiar with that little trope or that type of storytelling, when you
There can
have a
only be one.
mentor, when you have a mentor and a student, that mentor always has to die in order for the student to be able to grow. So, just be prepared that that may be something that happens, especially in this in this initial series. It may actually even happen within a couple of episodes of the series that she may get killed off, and it forces our main character to be able to grow not only in her talents or her abilities as a slayer, but also psychologically and in being able to mature and that type of way as well. Um, but we'll definitely see. I don't know. I watched the original series. I know I watched it relatively consistently, throughout the top half of those seasons. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of faded during those Dawn seasons, and then I came back. I want to say, for those of you that remember, I came back when they brought the show back to UPN, when they brought her back from, yeah, when just as you said, she went to heaven before but came back. When they brought her back using, I guess it was, if memory serves, like magic, that Willow like brought her back for to um return, because I know at one point they were using like a android or a robot or something, if memory serves. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's when I started to rewatch it again. But like I said, I did fade off towards the end there in that original. I think I can't remember. I want to say it was like season 5 was when they brought in Dawn. Um, you guys can correct me out there in the comments if that is incorrect. But like I said, it was towards that tail end of the first run, because it was on WB for that first run that it had, and then they brought it back on another station for the remaining couple of seasons. So I am excited to have it come back. It'll be interesting to see how they'll be able to approach the vampires and some of the effects, because even as great as the series is, especially in terms of its writing and the banter that you have between the characters, some of the effects has not has not aged well.
Not at all.
Um, but again, we're talking about what, late '90s, early
Early
2000s.
2000s. Oh, yes.
So a lot has changed since then. So I'll be interested to see how they update a lot of the effects in that way. But any last thoughts before we switch gears over to Alien?
No, just, SMG is Buffy. Like you said, SMG is Buffy.
Yeah, indeed, and I'll say that too. Will we see some other characters come back? Will we see, Warren and Hill? Will he make a return? They could always, bring back Easter eggs from the original show. Will Allison, what is it? Willow, will she come back? Will we have any of, because a lot of the actors are still, alive and kicking. So will they pop up in there? I know that I'm brain farting on his name right now. Who plays Spike? That he had done a video. James Marsters. He had done a video, or I guess he did a live recently, where someone was trying to get him to talk about the recent news, and all he did was like smile and say, I can't, and but so many words said, oh, I can't really, discuss what's going on or what's happening in the world of Buffy, but I'm excited to have it come back. So perhaps he is in fact making a return also. But I mean, you have so many folks, David Boreanaz, James, you have thinking of Anthony Head. Like, there's so many cast members who are still, still around, that it would be awesome to see what their characters are up to at this point in this timeline in the Buffy universe. So, but now getting over into the aliens of it all, um, what it's a great time to be an Aliens fan, in that
For
we've
sure.
had we've had some great Alien content in the last what, I guess in the last year or so. The Alien, already brain farting on the last film. This is bad. on what was it, Alien. The last film was Alien, not was it Rec, it was,
Not Requiem.
it
Requiem was a
wasn't.
long time
I'm
ago.
thinking of AVP Requiem. Gosh,
Yeah.
no, I do not want to think of AVP Requiem. But Alien, this is bad that I'm brain farting on this last Alien. uh it was
Covenant.
Alien.
Was it Covenant?
No, Covenant was the last Scott, Scott film.
Hmm.
But with Alien, this is bad that I am not remembering this last Alien film. Not Alien Covenant. Um, Romulus. There we go.
Romulus. That's it.
Alien
Yeah.
Romulus. I'm tripping. I should know that because of the whole dynamic that they had there with the whole story of Romulus and Remus, that Roman story. But I digress. Going into just where the state of Alien is, or I'll just say the Alien universe is right now. I feel like it's in a good place where we have a good Alien film that's just come out. We've had a couple of good what is it? We've had a good Predator film, so with Prey, and it looks like the upcoming films that they have and projects that they have, that animated project that they have that's Predator related, including the upcoming live action Predator film, which seems to imply that there is some connection or some shared synergy between Alien and Predator, that they're going to try to somehow cross pollinate those worlds together again. But this time, instead of it being in the present day, it being in the future, I think is really cool. So we'll see. But one thing that I'm not going to lie, a little worried about is, as cool as it would be to visit this world of Alien, and as cool as it is that it seems to be that they're providing some additional wrinkles in the story, so that way it keeps fans of the series on their toes by having these extra corporations, but also having, from what I understand, extra monsters outside of the xenomorph. Will they bite off more than they can chew by trying to diverge too far away, to the point that they will break canon with some of the things that have been established? Because in Alien Romulus, for those that haven't seen it yet, it fits within the first Alien and the second Alien. They do some new things, don't get me wrong, but they don't do anything so drastic that you still can't fit it within the events of those two films, if that makes sense. So I don't know how you feel in that regard.
I think I think that with the alien movies you can do so many different things because the theme is so central and it's so universal of these monsters can make babies in anybody. So, it's like that. We're just tarantulas, and those aliens are those desert wasps, and they're gonna come put something in your tummy. You'll be walking around, but you won't be alive no more.
For
So,
sure. For sure.
I think that just the whole concept, it's been so duplicated. The Brood on X-Men and all kinds of other different iterations of the aliens from Alien, because it's just a perfect allegory for life. It's a real good, like, real good thing. So I'm interested to see it.
And I wanted, while we're on that topic, they did have, and I'll try to share this from the FX website. They shared some images, some new recent images of the series, which was great because it gives us a sense of the aesthetic that they're going with, which feels like it fits perfectly with what we've seen thus far in Alien films. So let me see if I can get that up for us now. Um, let's see. There we go. So we do have a couple of images here, as I said, that they did release, um, regarding not just some of the players that we have that are working for these corporations. that were mentioned in the synopsis, but also with the character played by Timothy Oliphant and uh, those characters that were mentioned when we're talking about synthetics and what they're doing in this show in terms of approaching not just the horrors of experiment of corporate greed, right? But also of the progression of AI, of artificial intelligence. So I will be interested to see how they're able to approach that because, as I said, this is supposed to be taking place a couple of years before Alien, and
Hmm.
I don't want them to get too far ahead of themselves if we're talking about some of the things that are being introduced here coming before those said things that were introduced in films. Like if we're talking about Ash and what we know about the android Ash and not having it seem that it is too far advanced ahead of what is going to come after based on what we
Hmm.
know in the timeline. See that's the unfortunate thing about prequels. Sometimes there you run into that problem of breaking canon or
Retconning.
getting ahead of yourself in terms of certain things that you're introduced that have never been introduced thus far in the series or is not even supposed to be introduced at that point in the timeline. So
Hmm.
I will be curious. um I will also be curious to see how the other monsters fit into the story as well. Um, because if memory serves, and those of you that have seen all the Alien films, the last Alien film, Resurrection, because I know we had our commenter here, talking about wish we had Alien 5. I do too, but it never came to be. Is an Alien 4? If those of you that remember, I know it's been a minute. This was, I mean, gosh, I was what 97 that we had
Hmm.
Alien Resurrection, but I digress. That at the end of the film they do eventually make it to Earth, and when they do make it to Earth, it's like it's a dump. Like there isn't much going on there. So it begs the question: as much as the Alien franchise has talked about or highlighted that concept of not bringing the xenomorphs to Earth, we've seen time and time again, whether we're talking about AVP, whether you want to count it as canon or not, or if we're even talking about this show, that the xenomorphs have been on Earth. And so, as much as Ripley, wanted to prevent that disaster of bringing, this parasitic species to Earth, perhaps Earth was already in bad shape because let's remember that when we're talking about the Alien franchise, they were out in space the entire time, like way out in space. And if we're talking about the first Alien film, any of those installments, they don't really make a whole bunch of trips back. So who knows what actually had been transpiring on Earth at that time when all these characters were out in space. So
Hmm.
it will be
We'll
interesting to
see.
see how they do that. But that is going to do it. This relatively didn't have a whole bunch of topics to talk about, but I felt like the topics that we had gave us enough, you know, enough meat on the bone, so to speak, to be able to discuss. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of This Week in Pop Culture. Before I get into my spiel, I'm gonna punt it over to Spills. Spills, can you tell folks where they can find you, sir?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Instagram at Truly Spill. That's TRULY Spill. Just like this without the Z. And remember, if you can find me to just tag Brandon and tell him that the Warriors ain't in the playoffs no more.
All right, fair enough. And you can just make sure to also tag Spills of mentioning that the Lakers were not winning in 5, but were done in 5.
We were done in five. We said Lakers in five.
Done
We
in
didn't
five.
say what would happen in five. Lakers losing
Done
in
in
five.
five.
It's the
Done in
same
five on the
sentence.
beach.
That's right.
Done in five on the beach. So just remember that. Hashtag done in five. But I'm your host, Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Once again, you can find me on X at Brandon Choi ENT and also Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there and see y'all soon. Peace.